I'm just gonna have to have a look out the window and see how bad the flooding is in my yard. And it's got me wondering, are we all gonna have to become survivalists in this new modern world? It's looking more and more like that every day. And I'm feeling blessed that I've got my garden up and running here. It's doing quite well. And I'm able to harvest food from it every day, and we get around about 50, sometimes 75% of our food on our plate every day. Now, the chickens are down here. They're waiting for a feed. So when we're eating our eggs and veggies, we're pretty much, unless we put a bit of carbs on the plate, we're getting all our food. But survivalism. I never thought I'd ever be talking about this on this channel and becoming self-reliant. As the costs are spiraling out of control and people don't realise that farmers are getting old. The average age in Australia and across America, I believe, is 58 at the moment. And many are deciding whether they're going to keep going or not. And that's a story that I spoke about in a recent video. Now, I've got my beans growing here. These are my survival snake beans. Now, these guys can handle high humidity, heavy heat. They just don't like the cold. And they do get these little bugs on them sometimes. They're called the little stink bug, and they're called the vegetable bug, I believe. And I just hit them with a bit of pyrethrum. I never spray, but these things are tough. So yeah, I've got to go and spot spray on them to get them. And I haven't done that in years, but I'm doing it now because of the weather. Now, talking about survivalism and setting ourselves up so we can get through these tough and rugged times is something that I didn't really want to talk about. But after all the bad weather and everything that we've had in the last few years, and I've been through a couple of floods already in the last few years, and even had our power down for around about 4 or 5 days, and I had to build luckily I had a little kit built out with food in it and all the things that we needed, and a little gas can and cooker and stuff, so we were able to get through that time when we were flooded in and couldn't get to any supermarkets or anything. The only thing I didn't have was a candle or a torch for night time, and we didn't have any power, so we couldn't charge the phone. But have a look. The water's come down about halfway overnight. Now, yesterday we had to drive through some flooded water, and I probably took a bit too much of a risk and maybe shouldn't have done it. But I waited till these cars were going through, and I just drove right behind them, like a metre behind. And they were pushing the wake up in our little tiny Hyundai. And we got through that way, and I said to my wife, don't you ever do that, what I just did. I said that was just something that I took that risk right there and then to get through, because I've got experience of driving more in flooded waters, and if those cars stopped for some reason, we would have been in a lot of trouble. And it just gets me thinking. I'm just like, wow, they're calling for a wet summer, a wet hot summer here, and I'm thinking about what I can grow. My tomatoes are pretty much down the bag, and so we've got beans and cucumbers and zucchini, and we've got okra growing and some basil. If you know what this is here, choco, you know, we've got fruit trees and things, so we're doing all right. But it's still got me thinking about the future and forward ahead, about maybe we're going to have to grow using different methods and bring these different techniques and bring them forward as we're moving forward in these current times, because we're getting pushed more and more towards this survival mode. And as you know, there's all the world events around us at the moment are doing that, and the world of prepping is much bigger and more advanced in America than it is in Australia, because of the history of the Cold War and all those type of things. And so for me, I'm slowly becoming what I believe to be an advocate for speaking on these things, and looking about whether, you know, the world needs to become more towards survivalism. Like Mark from Self-Sufficient Me brought out a video, and it's on the thumbnail, it's got "Don't Starve." I think it's had something like 6 million views. I spoke to him about it. He's still blown out about that, and me too, because it shows that people are really concerned about going hungry. And unfortunately in Australia now, 1 million people are going without a meal every day. And I'm hearing from St. Vincent de Paul that many families, they're letting their children eat before the parents eat, and the kids are saying, hey, are you going to have something to eat? They say, yeah, we'll eat later, and most of the time they don't, because they want their children to eat. And we put our children first. We care about our child, and that's what good parents do. And so, you know, this struggle is real, my friends. And with the way that the cost of living is spiraling out of control, the one way we can get on top of things is by growing our own food. But the thing is, it's not for everyone. Not everyone can grow because they don't have the space or the time or even the knowledge, and you've got to build up that knowledge. Thank goodness for the internet. You can learn quite quickly these days. But there are some ways that you can get around it if you're only in a small space. One thing is you could grow microgreens and sprouts, and you can do it that way, and something that's not very tasty or whatever. But you can learn these different homesteading techniques and buy things in bulk, yeah? And so I did something the other day. I bought a bag of onions, and I just cooked up a whole lot of onions, garlic, chili. I put some ginger in with it, and I just stir-fried it all up. And I put it into a mix so I could use it in other meals, so I could save money from a cooking side of things, where I can just grab that and put it into meals, because generally that's the base of lots of things. And then I got a whole lot of tomatoes that were sort of bad because, you know, we had this flooding and everything, and the tomatoes were just going bad. And I made a sambal, an Indonesian sambal, and I can use it as a dip when we're eating like sticky rice or something, and I can put it on something like on some eggs or an omelette or whatever, and save money that way. So there's many things that we can do. Even if we don't have a garden, we can buy in bulk and learn how to cook in bulk and can and all those type of things, and save some money that way. So it's another form of, I don't know, survivalism is the right word for it, but it's another way to empower ourselves to save money. And I believe we need to look back, and maybe if you've got an old parent's book, you know, that teaches you, their recipes and things like that, clubs and, you know, Facebook groups and these types of things. There's so much information right at our fingertips these days. So it is very, very possible. Now, I've been developing this system for small space gardeners, and it's not real. It's relevant because there's a lot of people looking at this and going, oh, I don't have a lot of land like you do, Marty, and I don't have all this space, and I don't know what to do. And I'm like, okay, so I've put together a series, and it's a series of videos. Excuse me, I'm just going through the gate here to the front yard where we've got more food growing. So I've put together a series of videos for small space gardeners and container gardening, and it started off called the cost of living something garden, and just morphed into what we call the victory garden now. Now this just got hammered by all the rain and all the storms, but it's still hanging in there, and it's basically a whole lot of container gardening. We've got a trellis system here where we can grow, use our vertical space at the same time. That's really cheap. So I highly recommend that you check that out. There'll be a card or something up here, and there will be another sort of like window or something where you can watch that series and start learning how to grow food in a smaller urban space at home and get results. Anyway, this is my concern at the moment, is Australia and is the world going to have to get more into being a survivalist? It's looking like it. All right, have a great day. Happy gardening, and we'll see you at the next video real soon. Bye for now.